So, I wanted to talk about 5 ways to know if you are in alignment when making a decision. My day started with a family member reaching out and them sharing with me how they had come to a decision and they wanted some advice on how to go about taking the next steps. And it got me thinking because I created the 5 completion codes. I don't know if it was sometime last year, because I myself had been in situations way longer than the expiration date, from relationships to different jobs. I don't want to say career paths. I feel like all my career paths kind of go together, but let's say different companies, working with different management, wearing different roles, different hats. And I knew there were always signs that told me, this ain't it. This is not a fit. Go. But I also had this spiritual block, this pain and suffering block. Maybe I'll talk about that another day. And the pain and suffering block is all about something isn't fulfilling. It's not worth it unless you have a challenge, right? Do you ever hear people say, you know, it's not really a great relationship unless you go through some really great struggles, or not great struggles, unless you go through some struggles, right? Like there has to be this hardship in order for you to experience the fulfillment. That is not true all the time. That's a spiritual block. But again, conversation for another day. But for a lot of the situations in my life, I was always like, okay, what's the learning here? I haven't experienced all the learning. I'm here because I'm supposed to be here. There was another saying, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. If you're here, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. What does that mean? What does that mean? If I'm here, I guess I'm supposed to be here unless I choose to be somewhere else. Right? So sometimes there's these pieces of advice that can keep us from thinking that maybe we're supposed to be doing something else. So I had come up with these 5 completion codes, these ways to look at, should I stay or should I go? Is this something that I should continue exploring the lesson, or it's not for me? I'm not going to get into each of them in a large amount of detail because you can get access to the completion codes, which are, there's 5 videos where I take each one, I go in detail, and then you have a guide to not only cover all the points, but to also integrate, right? To like take some steps and play with it, practice it. But I do feel like it would be helpful to go through them, because as I was having this conversation with my family member this morning, I know it took her some time to get to this decision. And do you ever find it interesting where you have people in your life that you love a lot and you know that that thing is not going to be a fit, whether it's that person, you're like, that's not going to work out. It's not. Are you the type of person that feels the need to tell them it's not going to work out? That situation, that opportunity is not for you. I learned a long time ago, save my energy, because we got to figure it out. We're here on this journey to figure it out ourselves. And no matter if we know it, it matters that they know it, that they feel it, that they've come to that. Or else, if they make the decision based on your advice, you end up being the reason they're unhappy if the next thing doesn't work out. So the first one is never making a decision when you are out of capacity. What do I mean by that? There's so much that we can tolerate, right? Like our capacity to handle things. We each have a different capacity. And through life, we can expand our capacity. But when we get to a place, it's like we can get into something that's not really a fit for us, but because we have a full tank of gas, we got the energy, we're like, yep, let's go, right? We are able to handle a lot more stuff that comes our way. And so what happens is we don't really see and realize that this thing isn't a fit because we're riding the wave of momentum, excitement, thrill, newness, novelty. I love when I say the same meaning in different words. And so when you are, though, doing the thing, let's say you're with the person or you're in this opportunity and you've been doing it for a minute, so it's not just new anymore, but you still have enough gas. There's still enough in your tank. That's the ample time to start looking at these other things I'm going to share with you to see if something's telling you, I don't know if this is it. You can start to look at these other things. If you wait until you are completely just spent, you are so frustrated, you are so exhausted, you can make a decision from that place for sure. But 9 times out of 10, when we make decisions from that place, things don't always line up for us right after. Because we are already in this vibration, this low vibration, this state of sometimes we feel hopeless. We just feel burned out, exhausted. And so the way we approach the situation may not be the most beneficial. The things that we connect to or attract after that may not be the best. Sometimes it's what we need is to get all the way to that place so we can just go, you know what? I don't even care no more. I'm done, right? It happens. I get it. But if we can make the decision from the place where we have some gas left, we'll just feel better about it and we set ourselves up to be in a better position moving forward. So that's one. Two would be the body knows if this is a fit before your mind does. Your body knows. It's giving you signs all the time. But there's reasons we don't notice the signs because for a lot of us, we live up here. And I can tell you personally, for me, I've done, and sometimes I do a lot of things to where I'm not connected to my body, right? I'm always listening to something. I might be listening to a podcast, to some material given to me by someone that I'm working with, and learning a lot is nice, but it does take you out of here, right? So if you're constantly listening to something, doing something, you're not necessarily connected to your body and to these clues that your body's giving you. And so, your body might be speaking to you in anxiety. It might be speaking to you in, I can't sleep, having trouble sleeping. It might be speaking to you in fatigue, in burnout, in heart palpitations. There's so many, in tummy aches, right? Digestive issues. All of a sudden you got stuff. Your body's like, yo, something ain't right. So when you're noticing things going on, this is where we really want to stop all the mental noise and really check in. That's 2. 3. So we talked about your capacity, your body. And then the third would be your energy. And I mean more like energetic charge. When we're triggered by something, when an experience happens in that situation with the person, with the, let's say, work opportunity or work, and we're feeling really charged, we're triggered, like that thing just got us going, activated us, something inside of us. That's also not the time to make a decision. in that moment, right? In that moment is when your survival brain is kicked on. You're most likely in fight, flight, freeze, fawn. You're doing something to keep you safe, keep you out of the discomfort. Maybe what you need to do in that scenario, instead of making this decision, do I stay, do I go, is maybe it's, do I need to set a boundary? Do I need to speak up? Am I not, am I triggered because I'm betraying myself? I'm not saying the things I really want to say. I'm not speaking up for myself. I'm allowing all these things to make decisions for me. Is this person just frustrating me and I'm just really angry? And so the situation might not be a fit, but during the time of the trigger is not the time to make the call. So there are ways that we can work through the trigger to get to the other side, to neutralize the charge so that we can be in a different part of our brain, not in the survival brain, in the more creative part of our brain, the more powerful part of our brain, where we can make decisions from a totally new, different set of ideas and thoughts. That's 3. 4. Oh, we can come up with some agreements, these energetic agreements, invisible agreements, subconscious agreements with ourselves. And we do that to keep us safe, so that we feel loved, so that we feel valued, so that we feel worthy. So sometimes we're in a situation too long because we're feeling guilty. We feel bad. We're taking responsibility for something that isn't ours to take responsibility for. There's guilt. There's some type of thing where you're not really making the decision for yourself, but you're thinking of all these other things as to why you're not making decisions. As you know, I talk a lot about archetypes, energetic frequency archetypes. I use EFA for short. And depending on your archetype, your core archetype patterns, you can make decisions very differently. You might be someone who makes decisions just impulsively, right? Without even really thinking them through. You might be someone who makes decisions by constantly thinking about it and analyzing every aspect of it before you go and make a decision. You might be someone who makes a decision from the place of, I definitely don't want to leave this thing because it's going to make me feel like I failed. So I'm going to do all I can to make sure that this makes sense logically. And I'm going to try to hang in there because it took me forever to make this decision before I go. Or you're an archetype who makes a decision, or you stay in a situation. Either way, it's a decision. If you stay, you're staying. If you go, it's a decision. If you stay, you're staying. If you stay, it's a decision. If you go, it's a decision. Either way, it's a decision. But you're coming from a place of, I don't want to hurt them. How are they going to feel about this? So all this responsibility of how they feel is something that you're caught up in. And so you decide to stay because you feel obligated, you feel guilty, you don't want to hurt them, you feel responsible. Maybe they put a lot of time, effort, energy into you or into that engagement, relationship. I don't necessarily mean romantic, just dynamic, right? So we can make these contracts that we can't even see within ourselves, that we don't even know they're there, that keeps us in situations way too long. And then lastly is when you know, When take the body out of the equation, take all the mental looping out, take everything off the table, the invisible contracts. You have a knowing. You got to the point where you don't even need someone's advice. Your bestie don't need her advice. You don't need your partner's advice, your spouse's advice, you don't need anyone's advice. You're now connected to something bigger, bigger than you. So I would call this the spiritual or quantum truth. And when you have that knowing, like you just know this, you know what? I've tried to make excuses for this all over the place, but I just know this is not in alignment with who I am. This is not in alignment with who I'm becoming. This just doesn't fit anymore. That's another checkpoint. And so in the 5 completion codes, I go over very specific, like what that feels like, what that looks like. And which with each of these, you have a very clear understanding of what each code looks and feels like. Because it isn't just in the big decisions where we struggle sometimes. Sometimes it's even in the day-to-day decisions. Should I take a trip? Should I not take a trip? Should I say yes to this person who's invited me to this thing and I just don't know? If you want to become a really great decision maker, and not just being able to make a decision, because anyone could just make a decision, right? We can just say yes or no, but making decisions that are in alignment for you. This is what this is all about. So I will leave you until next time. If you are unsure, unclear of what your archetypal patterns are, because I think once you know your archetypes, it becomes more clear as to how you've been making decisions and if that way has been working well for you or if maybe there's another way. So you can take the quiz for free in the description. And if you want to learn more about what the 5 completion codes are all about, I'll have a link there in the description as well. All right. To get more information on all topics related to love and career and the patterns that keep us living the same thing in those scenarios, just with a different wrapping paper, subscribe for more. I'll see you next time.